In the years following World War II, a new era dawned in the United States. Soldiers who had fought in Europe and Asia returned home to find a transformed nation. Many of these veterans, thanks to the GI Bill, now had access to higher education, an opportunity previously unimaginable. As manufacturing boomed with significant private investment, the hardships of the Great Depression faded from memory. American-made goods flooded stores, and the nation shifted from a wartime economy to one driven by consumerism. Meanwhile, American servicemen stationed around the globe, from Cuba to Korea, maintained a vigilant watch, reinforcing the idea that a new world order, led by the U.S., had emerged. America's entry into World War II triggered a massive economic shift. As the demand for labor increased to support wartime production, unemployment virtually disappeared overnight. Women, who had filled roles traditionally held by men during the war, became a crucial part of the industrial workforce. After the war, the U.S. economy transitioned smoothly from war production to consumer-driven growth. Government contracts ended, but private investment took their place, spurring a boom in the production of goods. Americans, who had lived through years of scarcity, now had the financial means to purchase appliances and luxury items. This post-war economic transformation laid the foundation for the U.S. to assert its dominance on the global stage. One of the most significant contributors to America's post-war prosperity was the GI Bill of Rights, signed by President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1944. This legislation provided returning veterans with numerous benefits, including federal guarantees on home loans and financial assistance for higher education. Between 1944 and 1956, nearly 7.8 million veterans attended college or vocational schools through the GI Bill, while 2.4 million home loans were guaranteed by the Veterans Administration. These loans fueled the suburban housing boom, marking the rise of a new middle class. Car culture, suburban living, and commuting to jobs in cities became hallmarks of post-war American life. Despite the benefits of the GI Bill, not everyone shared equally in the post-war prosperity. Black veterans faced significant obstacles when trying to claim their GI benefits. A key compromise in the bill's passing allowed state governments to administer aid, meaning segregationist laws in the South limited the access of African Americans to education and housing. Black veterans were often denied opportunities, and those who did manage to utilize their benefits were set up for failure by segregated and underfunded schools. At the same time, women who had stepped into factory roles during the war were laid off en masse once soldiers returned home. Many women were pushed into part-time clerical positions with no union protection, and societal expectations encouraged them to return to domestic roles as homemakers, marking the start of the baby boom era. Post-war America didn't just experience success domestically, it also expanded its influence on the global stage. In 1944, the U.S. hosted the Bretton Woods Conference, leading to the establishment of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank, aimed at promoting global economic cooperation. At the same time, President Roosevelt believed in creating a strong international body to prevent future conflicts, resulting in the establishment of the United Nations in 1945. However, America's influence wasn't limited to diplomacy and economics. The U.S. maintained a powerful military presence around the world and wasn't hesitant to use covert operations through the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, to further its interests. One notable example was the Treaty of San Francisco in 1951, which ended the state of war between the U.S. and Japan. Japan was disarmed, and American military bases were established, some of which still exist today, cementing U.S. influence in East Asia. In addition to formal treaties, the CIA was active in orchestrating coups and regime changes in countries like Iran, 1953, and Guatemala, 1954, helping install governments that aligned with U.S. anti-communist policies. World War II fundamentally altered America's position on the world stage. While Europe and Asia were ravaged by war, the U.S. emerged economically strong and politically dominant. The GI Bill played a crucial role in creating an educated middle class. although its benefits were not distributed equally among women and minorities. Internationally, America expanded its influence through economic institutions, military bases, and covert operations, establishing a vast network of allies and puppet governments. By the end of the 1950s, America had not only recovered from the war, but had become a superpower, wielding unprecedented economic, political, and military power. The world had changed, and America was now at the forefront.